Stephanie. The feedback that we got last time from our editor was that I'm licking my mouth too frequently.
Jamie, the feedback was, you lick your mouth too much.
Apparently.
And you're like, oh, it's just because my lips are dry. Do you have some lip gloss? And I'm like, you don't need lip gloss. You need freaking Vaseline.
Welcome back to the Steph and Jamie podcast. This is episode number 2. For those that didn't see number 1, we spent the first one discussing a little bit about ourselves, our story. Mm-hmm. And for those that did have the opportunity to watch, you would have gathered that personal development is something that we are very much interested in and we'll be discussing a lot on this show.
Yes.
As well as some lessons from our own journey and some of the different things that we have been through and hopefully convey some of those things to help you, whoever you are listening. So we appreciate you being here where we'll be discussing.
And I always say nothing is off bounds.
Nothing.
No.
Careful.
Or do you disagree? Nothing is off bounds. I think what people want is true authenticity. So that's why I'm like, let's just lay it out.
It's lacking a lot in this world.
Seriously, everywhere you look, especially on social media, you know, everyone's putting on filters and the best of this and that and their highlight reels of their life. It can be a little bit discouraging. So we want you to know that you're only human and so are we, and we're all going through it. What?
I feel like...
What, is there something on my face?
Yeah, you got to have like an alfalfa.
Where's my alfalfa? Do you want to go? Come fix my alfalfa. I saw you looking at my forehead. I'm like, what's his deal?
Is it going to be an issue? Should I just leave it or should I do something about it?
This happened to us yesterday.
Less than 24 hours ago.
I said something to you that you took an offense to, but I was venting how I felt in the moment. And I didn't want you to take it on as that's what I think permanently or, you know, it's all over, Red Rover. Like, that's just what I was feeling in a moment of frustration from a build-up of everything else, like a situation that happened.
Yes.
And so what I think a lot of men don't realize, and women will vouch for me, we don't actually say what we mean. We say what we feel. Mic drop.
That's a very difficult thing for a lot of guys to comprehend because we hear what you say and then we think that's what you mean because men speak and think in terms of logic. And if you say something, we assume that's probably what you mean. But what you're saying is that often you might say something that you feel which isn't actually what you mean.
Yes.
See how confusing that is?
But what's even worse?
Why did you say it?
Wait, what's even worse is if you're saying what you feel with intent because you're logical, so when you're actually mean to me, you mean it.
Well, no, not necessarily true. It depends on the emotional state. I think that if someone, a guy, is triggered, then he will very likely say things that he does not mean. But it depends on his level of control of his emotional state and his triggers. If he's aware that he's getting triggered, then someone that might be a little bit more stoic will sit in that emotion, think about what it means, and then try and bring it to the table in a way that can be received and understood.
Okay, you're talking about like a 1% man because a lot of men struggle with in my opinion, a lot of men do struggle with emotional maturity.
Well, that was partly what we're going to talk about in this episode. I don't even think we introduced it properly.
This is so you and I. Jamie needs complete structure of everything that we do. And I'm just like, let's go emotionally. This is what I'm feeling. And then let's create it as we go. This is pure like the problem. Not even a problem, just how men and women run.
So we need each other.
Do you know what? This podcast is about being authentic. And I'm going to tell you something that just happened in the last 3 minutes. And this comes back to men and women being polar opposite once again and how it can throw you off if you're not working in harmony. So 3 minutes ago, we started this podcast we kind of introduced it in my mind. I thought we introduced it quite fine. In Jamie's mind, we didn't. So halfway through the conversation of me getting into flow, he interrupts to go back to the beginning because the way that men work, they love structure because they're logical. So you did that halfway throughout the podcast, the start of the podcast. And then I tried to take it back to flow, which was just like, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling right now. I'm in my flow. And you're like, I'm thinking, and this is not structured. And this whole podcast is about what he's thinking and she's feeling. Mm-hmm. And this is a perfect example of that. And then when you're not in flow with each other, what can happen? It can be a huge interruption, which could have, with us, turned into a fight. But the way that you and I have learned to kind of deal with conflict is laugh everything off. So we've just been laughing and like just trying to let it go. And I think that has maybe happened with us after a long time of being together. And we've learned that sometimes you just can't take things too seriously. It's not worth the emotional energy. And I also, because I know that when we first got together, we weren't like that. I could stay mad at you for like days. But hey, to be honest, that's what I viewed growing up. My mum was a very stubborn woman. Like if my parents fought, like it was, he would have to come running.
We are all very much a byproduct of the behaviors from our parents. My parents, on the other hand, were very much the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I didn't observe much conflict when I grew up.
Yeah.
So whenever we had conflict, I found it very distressing and would do what I could to try and resolve it. That's how I found peace.
Yeah.
But you, on the other hand, struggled with that.
Because I saw inauthenticity with you. I'm like, he's actually not sorry. He just wants to quickly make this over so that he's not uncomfortable. He just wants the fight to be over so that he can just live on with his day and be happy and there's peace. Because men love peace.
That was a pretty powerful lesson for me because I didn't really understand that at first. And I actually envied your ability to, I don't know if it's authentic, but I would say that I envied your ability to speak your mind or speak how you're feeling. Because the way in which I grew up, we often would speak about our feelings, but we would often present them in a way that might be deemed socially acceptable. And many of the feelings that I have aren't socially acceptable. And I had to come to terms with that. And you absolutely helped me bring that out within myself and help me maybe accept and become aware of some of the deeper feelings within myself that are maybe a little bit more difficult to understand or difficult to comprehend, or things that are within me that maybe I don't want to accept within me, because we all have those things.
Do you think that it's quite common for women, and this scares men from what I've heard, to obviously try and help the man grow and mature into the man he's supposed to be? Like a good woman will always help a man grow. And a man who isn't ready to grow may be feel completely exposed and freaked out by that and run and be like, this chick just won't lay off. But he doesn't realize her intention is to help him grow, but she just does it in a way that seems like she's criticizing all the time, or she's very vocal about the feeling of like, you're doing this and it's making me feel like this, like, can't you see? And he feels like sometimes he's being parented. But really our intention is, and we do this with women, we say how we feel and we're like, babe, just do it. Like, and we boss them around and we nurture. That's all we know how to do is nurture and help, our children grow or our friendships grow. So we do it to our men as well, but they see it as a criticism and then they shut down emotionally. How did you handle me at the start of our relationship being so forward about the areas where I felt like you were not maturing or lagging in?
Very badly.
Yeah, you didn't take it very well.
I was always fiercely independent from a young age and wanted to be very much independent. I have 3 older brothers and I was the youngest by a long way, by 10 years. So I was always trying to keep up with them. So it was always, a thing of mine is to always have my shit together. So when you might give criticism or advice is probably better than criticism. I might have viewed it as criticism at the time, but reality is it was advice. Took it as criticism and was very defensive at first because I didn't really understand where you were coming from. I was just sort of coming from a place where I wanted to be in control and be in charge. And it took me a long time to work out what it is that you're saying. I think if guys really stop and analyze and strip back she's always just nagging. She's nagging for a reason, which is what you're talking about. She's nagging because she wants you to evolve into the best man that you can be for her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's invested in you. She's not invested just to be a nag. She's invested in helping you become who you were supposed to be. And it took me years to actually accept that. And I still have days where maybe I don't realize or comprehend that at first, but I know that that's your intent. And I think intent matters.
The worst part is you said something really important, and it brings me back to some memories or traumas in our own relationship. But we had a real issue with the feminine versus the masculine. Remember, there was a time where you weren't attracted to me because I was, in your words, masculine.
There have been many times where you haven't been attracted to me as well.
Yeah.
Because of this very reason, which I think is probably what this episode was going to be about, discussing the dynamic between the masculine
and the feminine. But you said, just winding it back to nagging, that word, because it was triggering to me. Uh-oh. So you were like, she feels like she's nagging. I think you said feels like she's nagging. When she's nagging, we aren't meaning to nag, but we wouldn't have to nag if you were being the man by leading and doing the things that we're nagging you about, that you should have already been doing, that we believe men should be doing. So it's like sometimes I realize that maybe for me, being more masculine was because I was a single mum and I had to be a mum and a dad at the same time. And so I really lost that nurturing feminine part of me. It was still in there, but I had to bring out more of the masculine side of me to cope, to financially provide for the children, to do everything for them because there was no man in my house. So I had to retrain myself, which was, I didn't realize at the time, was when you got with me that you were like, wow, this girl's feminine, but then there were also parts of me that were quite masculine that you didn't like. And I had to really work on that. And we went to a relationship counselor, and she was like, I said to her, I'm wearing pink nails and I'm wearing a pink top and I get my hair done and I wear makeup, I'm feminine. And she's like, Stephanie, femininity isn't on the outside, it's on the inside. It's about feeling. And I was like, I just didn't know how. So then I went home and I went and watched a heap of podcasts on femininity and what it actually is and healing and feeling and all that kind of thing. And it's something that I'm still working on to this day because I feel like I am doing quite masculine things like lifting heavy weights, gaining muscle. There are things that, and, running businesses that require masculine qualities in some way.
I think we need to define, because what you said is very important.
Yeah. People
often misdefine masculinity and femininity in what you wear or how you present yourself. I remember a story when we were quite early on in our dating journey. I said to you, at that time you were going through a little phase where you were wearing almost I don't know if you want to call it a punk rock, but
hats backwards.
Yeah, you're a bit punky. You're wearing a lot of black. You were always painting your nails black.
Black, love that.
And I gave you some criticism or feedback, let's call it. What's feedback? I said,
I felt like it was criticism.
I can't remember exactly what I said. Do you remember what I said?
It must have hurt pretty bad because I blocked it out. No, I remember you saying don't wear your nails black. It's it represents depression. I was like, I just like my, dude, calm down. I like my nails black. It looks cool.
I think I said to you, have you ever thought about doing a different colored nail? You took that as very offensive, but it wasn't. That might have been a representation. I think maybe what you wear, how you dress might ignite more of a masculine or feminine vibe, let's say. But the true essence of femininity, masculinity is the way in which we've come to understand it now is the feminine feels and the masculine does. So the feminine feels and the masculine acts. That's in simple terms how I guess we've grown to understand it. Another way of thinking about it would be the feminine, as you said, is inward and the masculine is outward, which is so interesting biologically.
Like anatomy?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because God has written it into our biology.
Yes.
You think of the man is outward, the woman is inward.
Yeah.
Now, got to be careful how I say this, because that doesn't mean that I, as a man, shouldn't go inward. That doesn't mean that I don't have feminine qualities. It doesn't mean the same about you. We both have these qualities, but I think the essence is trying to balance those two qualities. And even if you look at like Chinese medicine, like the yin and the yang, that's essentially what they do.
Yeah.
To try and heal, whether it be physical or emotional pain, you're trying to heal those two energies.
Yeah.
And that's what they are, energies.
Yeah.
It's not about how you look or anything like that, or the stereotypical roles, whether it be, you know, people sometimes think a feminine woman is someone that cooks and cleans.
Yeah. Or like wears high-end jewelry, slicked back hair.
Yeah. It's got nothing to do with that. And when you understand the true essence of it, it's got absolutely nothing to do with that. It's purely about how you feel as the feminine, how you act as the masculine.
Yeah.
But to go back into what you were saying before, you said it can be frustrating as the woman when the guy doesn't lead.
It's so frustrating because it's not like, because it makes us feel unsafe.
Yes.
The moment we feel unsafe, or like, I always take it back to caveman days. I always think about, you know, before anyone was around, we're in a cave and I was there with my little children in the cave, and then my man was out hunting our food, and that if he didn't come back, I would be in the cage, you know, scared, alone, or the cave, not the cage.
Hopefully not.
I don't know where I'm going with that. I would be in the cave, like alone with the kids and vulnerable. So when the man comes back, he's provided the food and my safety again. So having a strong man to lead and to provide biologically, is that the word I'm looking for, back in the day? Well, yeah, back, if we strip it all back to like years and years ago and how, you know, we have evolved, it remains the same. The women still want that safety and security and to be like led and provided for. Doesn't mean that us women can't go out and work and...
Well, I think, culturally now that's not as common and even frowned upon.
Yeah.
I feel...
So hard to talk about too, because so many people are really touchy about this.
And as a guy, I feel genuine pain and empathy for women that they have taken on the burden that was supposed to be men's, which is now the burden to perform, the burden to provide, because somewhere along the way it was told that, you know, just you being a mother, those things are now not enough.
Seriously, like you said, being a mother, if you say I'm a stay-at-home mum, people think you're lazy, or they put you in a box like as a no one. Like that is the most hardest job. Like raising kids is the most important thing of all, because you're raising the next generation to lead when you leave this earth. Like you're leaving a legacy, and that needs to be done properly. And you need to put love, effort, nurturing, everything into that. And so people just really downplay raising children, and being a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom is so important.
Yeah, to compare that to someone that's just out doing a career and making money is so ludicrous. It's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not crazy to nurture the ones that you love and bring up the next generation. There is no more important job.
Yeah, yeah.
But I genuinely feel for women that that's now put upon you. That you now have to have a career and do all of these things. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but the pressure that you should or else is so unfair.
Yeah. I remember you said something to me which I was really shocked about. You said men, like if a man and a woman goes on a date, the man will not care what the woman does for a job and how much money she earns, whereas the woman thinks that the man cares about that if she's successful, that if she's like making a certain amount of money, if anything, to a man, correct me if I'm wrong and if I'm quoting you wrong, but you were like, it only really matters if she can, you know, nurture, if she's loving, she's caring, she has a good heart, what's on the inside. The man isn't judging her for her job or how much money she makes. He would rather she earn less than him and have less success than him so he can actually have a place to be able to lead and provide. Otherwise, he feels like he's not needed. Why would he want someone that's already doing it all? He wants someone that needs him because he, you know, it meant want to be wanted. That's their like...
Yeah, a secret for women is all guys have a desire to feel like a superhero. And if you can make them feel like a superhero, they'll be obsessed with you.
Yeah.
But that requires the guy to actually be a superhero, because if you're not, that's when things can go really wrong. And it has for us, as you were talking about before, many a times in the past.
Yeah.
The whole concept of leading, that's such a difficult one. And you said something important. You said that all women want to feel safe and secure.
Well, most women I know.
Yeah. Well,
I could be wrong. Like there's always the minority of people that just...
I think all people want to feel safe and secure. But I think one of the differences between men and women is that men don't often sit around thinking, am I safe? Like there's almost inherently they feel safe.
Yeah.
Like I never sit there and think, is this a safe environment for me to be in?
Yeah.
Whereas like, let's say I walk down a dark alley, like maybe I'll be a little bit on guard, but I'll have a sense of, I don't know if you want to call it pride or arrogance that I've got this. Whereas vice versa, you walk down a dark alley, how do you feel?
Like I need a flashlight. And a gun.
So here's the scenario. You're walking down the dark alley. You see someone approaching you that looks a little bit mysterious. I'm going to be on guard and ready to fight. That's my natural instinct. Like, I'm going to get this guy.
I'm going to call 911. Even though I'm in Australia at 000. Watch too much TV.
You're on guard not to fight. You're on guard to either seek protection or to run.
That's true. Actually, something like relevant to this, what you're saying, is another thing that you reminded me of, not just the dark alley, but we always saw these little memes on TikTok where a girl's like walking, say, in the airport, and she's like, la, 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 in her head. And then the guy's like, danger. Like he's like looking around for threat. And it's the same like with us when we're walking around. Sometimes you will shift me to a different side of the footpath. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like moving me from this way because you've obviously maybe seen someone, this happened the other day, like you saw a guy who was a little bit, I was wearing mini shorts, like free world. Like you saw someone looking at me maybe that you thought was threatening. So you shifted where you were standing to block him from being able to look at me down the street to protect me. Because I wasn't even aware. I was just like, la, 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 thinking about, what's for dinner.
And when, in that scenario, I wasn't like I said, when I walk around, I don't think about myself being safe. When I'm with you, the natural instinct is to protect, which is the other masculine trait of masculinity. We talk about that. So I'm on duty for you, which is like the beautiful part of masculinity.
Yeah.
Is there's a desire to both provide and protect. And in that moment, yes, I was feeling very protective of you. And once some creep looking at my girl, which happens a lot. What you said earlier was when you started taking on more masculine characteristics, my attraction for you wavered. And the same is true when I am more feminine. You generally find that all of a sudden I become way less appealing.
Can we just touch on that? I touched about me being masculine, bossing around, like having to be a soldier to my kids, like get in line, got to do this, got to do that, bedtime this time. Like, so with what would you describe as feminine qualities in a man?
Let's start by saying that there are positive and negative traits to both masculinity and femininity, at least in the way that I understand it. So the negative traits of a man, a feminine man, is someone that is not in control of his emotions, someone that is reactive, not responsive, someone that if you were to provide criticism from a loving place, he would get defensive and come back at you with something nasty. So that is a negative trait.
Yeah.
I'm in my feelings. My feelings are more important than your feelings. So therefore, I'm going to protect myself rather than protect you and evolve and be better for you by throwing something back in your face and saying, well, maybe I'm this, but you're that. So that would be the negative trait, someone that's so stuck in their feelings that they're defensive.
Yeah.
The positive trait of the feminine male is someone that can actually hear the feedback or listen to what's within themselves and have a level of empathy for someone else or understanding for himself, which I think is somewhat rare because many of guys are very out of tune with themselves and struggle to come to grips or come to terms with what's actually going on within themselves and who they are. And that kind of comes back a little bit to what you were talking about initially, which was, many guys are told to put on a mask. We talk about authenticity.
Yeah.
Put on a mask, present like you are an upstanding citizen with good morals, good intentions, and that's how they try and carry themselves. But we all have a shadow. We all have things that we struggle with. And I think that when you suppress those things, you start becoming a lot more feminine because you realize that all of these things that you want to feel, you deny yourself of feeling them. And that's when the defensiveness comes out. And that's where almost the toxic femininity comes out within a guy.
I felt right now the brokenness in your voice when you were just saying that.
Yeah, it's heavy.
Is that something that you've really struggled with?
Very much so.
Mm.
I think that all guys have to battle with that.
And when I say, is that something, I actually know. I don't not know you. I'm just giving context that is.
It's a huge pain. Yes. It's a huge pain, and it's something really difficult to come to terms with within yourself as a guy. I think that women, and something that, like I said, I admired about you, is that you are so free flowing in what you feel and your ability to communicate that, and communicate that without judgment or without almost the fear of judgment, which is funny because you are very fearful of judgment and rejection.
I know, it's bad.
But you still, when you get into a state of feeling, you're able to express that. Whereas when guys get into a state of feeling, they have to, it's difficult because guys, given their nature, you've never been in a girl fight. Like a punch on,
fight?
Have you? Yeah.
Like someone putting their hands on me.
You've never been in that situation, have you?
No. And to be honest.
You got class.
Well, if I was put in the situation, who knows?
Whereas, put it this way. If we were to weigh up how many girls have been in girl fights versus how many guys have been in guy fights, probably more men have been in fights, physical fights, than what women have. Whereas generally speaking, you're getting in verbal fight and you're not getting in verbal fights, but women might find themselves in verbal confrontation far more than what men will. But men have a inkling knowing that if things get more and more escalated, eventually this could very well lead to a physical fight. Mm. So when dealing in a relationship with a woman...
you can't just lash out and punch her in the face. I feel like you've looked at me before like you want to punch me in the face. Like your eyes boil. I know. And I'm like, oops, I pushed the red button. I pushed too far.
There have been times, yes, where I've had those urges, and I'll be honest about that, where it's like I'm feeling myself get so emotionally out of control right now. And by the way, when we're talking about toxic femininity, any man that lays hands on a woman, that's not because he's masculine. That's because he has deep roots of toxic femininity and an inability to deal with his feelings.
And control his emotions.
Where he reacts instead of responds.
Yeah.
Instead of being in that situation and dealing with his shit, he'll take it out on her. And if he does it with his fists, the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So I've never ever done that. But yes, I would be totally lying and I would be a fraud if I were to say there haven't been times where I might thought, geez, I could just...
Just a swift kick, take her down.
I could just grab her.
I think when you allow yourself to get to that boiling point where you see no reason, and that we should talk about that. When you get to that point, and we can talk about us in this scenario, how do you exit out? Like how do you, once you've hit red and you're in that boiling point, how do you bring the level down or stop it from escalating further? If you feel like you're losing a little bit of control, you feel that sweaty palms, you feel like your stomach tighten, you're just like, I want to rage.
From my perspective, as corny as it sounds, breathe, control your breathing, slow it down and listen and do your best to respond rather than react. A reaction is me throwing something back to you. A response is me hearing and trying my best to understand what it is that you're saying and then doing my best to communicate what it is that I'm thinking based off what you're saying. And doing it from a place of empathy and understanding rather than a place of judgment. And that...
Oh, geez. How do you, when you're in a very bad state, that's a very logical and calm response, which I think many people would not be able to achieve.
Yeah, but that's like self-mastery.
Yeah, but that's great for you. But let's be real,
Yeah, but this is, if we talk about, let's say, the role of men, just before you claimed that men should be leading, if they can't lead in a situation of emotional distress, then what good are they?
Yeah.
Like that is the burden of men, which is their competency in all areas, including dealing with their emotions, which is challenging.
But how? So you know how everyone wants a manual. Like when you have a baby, you don't get given a manual. You just got to figure it out.
Mm.
So if someone hasn't had a father who's been present in their life, like say a young bloke, hasn't had a father, his mother's raised him, so he's got more feminine qualities, or even someone who's had both their parents married and around, but maybe their father was absent because they worked all the time. How do they figure out what that looks like when they haven't experienced it in their upbringing? Like I guess what I'm trying to ask for is like, what's the 1, 2, 3 go? Like, how do you get there? Not just like have a maturity about you and figure it out. Like, what is a step that someone can take to gain emotional security and control with leadership that you feel like would help males today? Like if you were to give like one piece of advice to help someone master that or find their way to leading, what would it be?
All men have a desire to feel like a superhero.
Yes.
You feel like a superhero by becoming competent in something.
Oh, like a job or a career.
Anything, hobby, job. Ideally job.
Yeah.
But anything.
Building something.
Without competency, men have no self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Without any self-esteem, men have no ability to control their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
In a situation that they might find themselves in, if they don't know a thing or two, it can be very difficult for them to control themselves. And I think that the only way that they can do that is through finding self-esteem. And the only way that they can find self-esteem is by getting really fucking good at something, whatever that is, whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
But I know with myself, like the more skills that I have acquired, the better I feel within myself. And the easier.
I've noticed that.
Yeah. The easier I find it when dealing in a situation of conflict to remain cool, hear what you're saying, and respond accordingly. But if I'm feeling insecure about myself because I don't have any competencies or anything I can lean on, then I just react because I'm defensive, because deep down I would be thinking, I suck. Like, well, what do I have to bring to the table? If you're coming at me with criticism or feedback, I'd be thinking, well, she's right. But I'm not going to own that because then I look like an idiot.
Yeah. But subconsciously you do own that because you take it in.
But often you own it. Well, not own it, but typically speaking.
If you're in a weak state.
In a weak state, you're going to lash out.
Yeah.
You're not going to absorb it.
Yeah.
You're going to bounce straight back off.
Yeah.
So.
Or do both. Take it in and just feel sorry for yourself and then become completely, I don't know, numb and not helpful or resourceful and then lash out at your partner. Yeah.
So you said step-by-step guide.
Or your kids. Sorry.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. We're talking about violence, such a touchy subject.
No greater lesson, no greater situation to teach emotional resilience and patience than having kids.
Oh, yeah.
No greater. Before we get there, let me finish your question.
That subject there just makes my whole.
I know.
Yeah, we will be talking about that.
We will. But before we get there, you asked me a question, step-by-step guide for men.
Yeah, step-by-step, write a book. Let's go.
First step, get competent at something. Build your self-esteem. Step 2, I think, is listen more than you speak and just sit. Just sit in whatever it is that, if you're in a relationship, whatever it is that she is saying.
Yeah.
And, meditation is something that I think is highly valuable as well for men.
Yeah.
For everyone, but for men specifically.
Yeah.
Like, just sit, learn to be stoic, learn to be still, learn to be quiet, learn to absorb. A good analogy I heard the other day was, men being like the shore of an ocean. Like it just stays there and it just is. It's the rock. The ocean is going to rise, the tide's going to go up and down, but the shore just remains still.
Yeah.
And that's not easy to do. But when you've got a bit of competence, a bit of self-esteem, then that becomes easier.
Do you know what's funny about this? What? Just to lighten up the depth a little bit, because that's what I do. Yeah. You know how sometimes on TikTok I'll be like, someone like you will be speaking about a subject like this. Maybe it's on women. I'm like, they will like be, men need to lead, men need to do this. And I'll be like, hey, babe, or I'll send it to you. Like, you know, here, watch this, hint, hint. I wonder if people are like hearing that little segment that you just said and going to their husbands, listen, learn.
But see, it's so difficult when you do that to take that on as a positive.
Yeah, I know, because you're just thinking, you think I'm a crap person. You think I'm not enough. You think, like, go be with someone else then. You don't like me, like, go somewhere else.
Yeah, that was a pretty powerful realization for me as a guy, like learning that when you give criticism, where it's actually coming from.
Yeah.
Like, it's coming from a place of love, even though it doesn't feel like
and
love.
nurture.
And nurture.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're invested in me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're trying to get an ROI on your investment.
You should start worrying. My accent. I didn't even know I had an accent, to be honest, until someone told me. But then I realized this is such a blonde thing to say, but I'll say it. I'm like, I don't have an accent. What are you talking about? But because with Australians, you know, but please continue, Stephanie, get to the point. Oh, no.
This is what happens when you don't have structure.
The point just went, what was I just saying? Because it was really important about the accent. I had to get it out. What was I just saying to you?
You were talking... I don't know.
He's not listening to me. This is so typical. You're telling other men to listen and he can't tell me what I said.
Because he threw me off with the accent. I was listening all about your accent.
What do you think of my accent?
No,
worrying. I said the word worrying.
Yeah, no. You were saying something good though.
Wasn't I?
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, yeah. I got it. Ding, ding, ding. This always happens. Oh no.
Oh gosh, that would be cute. Bring it back. Come on. Bring it back.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Don't listen. Go quick.
Stay with me. Yeah. Stay with me. So I was just saying, you know, a woman has stopped. No, this is serious, Hans. I'm going to lose it again. Stop. Okay, go on. This is why it's important.
Yes. It's better be like a breakthrough moment.
Oh, no, the pressure's on. I can't even look at you because that's going to happen again. This is why, this is how you know this is a breakthrough moment.
Oh, that's right.
Don't say it for me. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say? Because I say it to you all the time.
Yes.
Yes. And what do I say? You bring it to the table.
You say to me, Jamie, instead of getting concerned with me giving you criticism, you should be thanking me, because it's when a woman...
You should be thanking me.
It's when a woman stops giving criticism is when she checks out.
Yes.
When she checks out is when the relationship is over.
Over, that she doesn't care.
That I'm here giving you criticism and feedback.
Yes.
Means that I'm still invested in you.
Yes.
Which is so like counter to what men think, because men think, well, she's just telling me what I'm not doing.
No.
Or she's telling me that, you know, whatever. It's like, oh, she just doesn't like me at all.
No. If we don't care about you, we will go spend our date. We could be dating you or watching Netflix at home with you and spending time with you, but then we'll go choose to spend time with our girlfriends or go on a girls' trip. Then we'll stop giving you feedback. Then we'll start being super nice to you, and like anything that you do or say doesn't matter anymore. That's when we've checked out. That when that happens, you should worry that she doesn't care anymore to spend time with you or critique you or help you grow with anything. That she's just like, love you, babe. Okay, cool. Have a good day. See ya. So superficial. That's when you should worry. Because when a woman is really in love with a man, she wants to like him to grow, and she wants to help put him on a pedestal, and she wants to like, she just wants to invest her whole self, which is what she does, where this is where all the emotional energy comes from, because she just wants you to be close to her. So she's like, you make me feel like this, and I just want you to be like this, and why can't we like do these things together? And you're like, I've got to work. Like, you're always just trying to take my time. Like, we can do it another time. Like, you got to let me work and leave me alone. But she just wants you to herself, and you're like, we want to take all your time because we love you and we want every inch of you, and we want to be around you and have a relationship. And I think, yeah, if men really saw that that's what the women's women's intention were, they wouldn't be so hard on us. So yeah, thank us when we're coming after you saying you can do better. It means we love you in our language.
This is how it's so like, you know how long it takes to comprehend that in a guy's brain?
We'll figure it out fast because we're running out of time. Figure it out. Women are so fast with that stuff. We're like,
we've talked a lot about what men have to comprehend about women. Let's flip the table.
Not literally, my coffee will go all over me.
Yeah, let's not do that. But what are some of the things that you have had to comprehend, or something that maybe doesn't come instinctually about dealing with me or about dealing with a guy that you're like, you've had to learn?
Well, I learned it from you and I know it now, so it's not weird. But I had to learn that men feel loved and wanted with two things. One, loved when you give him good feedback too. So like compliments in the way of, you're doing such a good job to take care of us. I appreciate you for leading us. I see how hard you work in the job and how much effort you put in and how much sacrifices you make. And it means so much to me. Men like to be acknowledged and appreciated, one, which I've had to really work hard on because I feel like I'm working too. I'm doing it too. Praise me, you know. That's hard. But sometimes you do need to take a step back and go, he wants to be appreciated. So that's one. And then the second thing is he wants to, there's actually maybe three. Mm-hmm. Men like to be touched. And when I say touched, it could be very, cuddled, touched, rubbed on the arm, just to be nurtured. Because their mum leaves and then the woman comes in and we have to give them not like mummy love, but a little bit of nurture like their own mothers did and, you know, let them know that they're loved. Because we're so busy telling you to love us and take care of us, sometimes we neglect that you want to feel loved and, you know, have physical touch as well when you're, you know, feeling overworked. Like a man doesn't want to come home from a big day of work and come home to a screaming wife. He would rather her, you know, come home and she's got her arms open saying, how was your day? Tell me about it. Or if you don't want to talk about it, give me a hug. Like peace and harmony and love. That's what he wants and craves. And by the way, women, if you do that, you'll get whatever you want from him. Like if you give him that, he'll give you everything.
Hot tip.
Yeah, I said there was two, didn't I?
Yeah, then you said there was three. You changed your mind.
Oh, there's a lot. Men aren't as easy as what they seem. To understand.
And touch them.
Yeah, appreciate them, touch them. But then also the other thing I learned was I really get frustrated with my mind that it keeps doing this. If anyone's got any tips for a pill I can take for cognitive help, let me know. And to be needed was the third one. Loved, appreciated, loved, touched, physical like touch, and then needed. So even asking for small things, he loves that. He loves like when you say, hun, I can't get this lid open. Instead of you grabbing a knife and banging it to like release it yourself, ask your partner to do it. He will love to open that for you. Or, you know, hun, do you think you could help me with this? Like he wants you to ask for help so that he feels like that he can save you in some way or assist you in some way because it makes him feel valued. That's something I learned with you. Don't handle everything on yourself. Even though I could probably do it myself, he's going to love it more. But also there's a fine line with that because if you go past that point and like do everything for me, bring the washing in, do the dishes, do the floors. Oh, another one. I'm on a roll now. If he does something, this is no. This is so important. Yeah. This is make or break. Yeah. If he does something for you, do not ever say that he could have done it better. Like if he went to his, you know, if he vacuumed the house for you because he saw that you needed help and you were overwhelmed, don't say he missed a spot. Because he'll never do it again.
Which is probably instinctive to you as well. Because as we talked about before, you have a need or desire to help him to evolve.
Yeah. This is how you vacuum the corners, James.
Yes.
He doesn't care. The fact that he even did it, you need to praise him for that because he'll never do it again. And he'll think, oh, it's never good enough. Why do I bother? Even though I could have done it better myself. If we're going to talk about you and I'm like, why did I not do it myself?
That's a pretty good vacuum.
You've gotten better. But like, do you know what I mean? Like he wants to be loved, appreciated, touched. In fact, there's an awesome book and you can probably vouch for who wrote this. Because I'm not really good with my memory, as you guys are starting to learn. It's probably over coffee consumption and overwhelm. So much going on. But back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Before you lose it.
Oh, my gosh. The fact that you're telling me I'm going to lose it makes me lose it. But the book is about... No, I'm not losing it. I'm trying to explain what it is because not a lot of people are aware about it. But we all have... Like, for instance, like I might like receiving gifts or like a love language. 5 love languages. Yes, thank you. See, you can always bring it back. I can always rely on you. We all have love languages. Yes. And finding out, it can be helpful to find out what they are about each other. For example, you can give the love languages. There's 5. Can you name them? Yes. Yeah, what are they? First love language is touch. Touch. Physical affection. Yeah. Second love language is words of affirmation. Yeah. So being told that you're great. Yeah, beautiful, great. Third love language is gifts. Yeah. So either giving or receiving gifts. Yeah. Fourth love language is quality time. Yes. Spending. Taking a moment to have a cup of tea and talk about your day. Being present with one another. Yeah. And the 5th, what have we done? We've done touch, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and acts of service. Acts of service, that's the last one. It's like vacuuming the house. If you were to vacuum the house for me as a act of generosity, then that might be a way that I might feel loved or maybe I really appreciate that. Or if you were to cook me dinner, maybe that really resonates for me or the way that I show my love is to cook you dinner, let's say, or vacuum the house. Yeah. And we all have different love languages. Love languages. That makes us feel loved. We all like those things. It's funny when you talk about that with people, they say, I like all those things. Yeah. It's like, but one makes you feel loved. Yeah, which is the one or two that really resonates with you, that actually lights you up. Yeah. Like there's got to be we all have a preference, right? Like you can be physical with me and touch me heaps and I'm like, like sometimes I'm like, don't touch me. Whereas you can be touched and just absolutely like love that and bathe in that. And like you feel so loved when I touched you. But you're like, if you do it to me thinking that I must feel the same, it's like, no, I would rather you go and spend quality time with me, just get your presence. You're a quality time gal. Whereas you like quality time, but you survive without it. You can easily just go off and work for hours. That book, The 5 Love Languages, I would really encourage you guys to read or look into because once you figure out what your partner's is, it can really change the dynamic of your relationship if you can give each other what makes each other feel loved. So I can tell you, for me, quality time trumps all because we don't have a lot of time in our job. So when I get your presence and you're looking at me and I can feel your love, I feel connected. Whereas when I'm touching you, you feel connected. Whereas if you touch me, I don't care. Which is, by the way, circling back to the whole masculine feminine thing, like one of the most positive feminine traits for a guy is presence. Yeah. Being able to sit and feel in presence. Yeah. That's a superpower. Yeah. Superpower. I don't think we touched on I think we touched on a lot about the positives of femininity, not much of the positives of masculinity. We talked about the whole provide, protect thing. But I think something, especially as I talked about a little bit for guys, it's like acting, being competent at something is also something that I think is very attractive from a female standpoint. To know that it's interesting you said before, I can always rely on you. Like if there's something to aspire for men, be someone that she can rely on. Yeah. That hasn't always been the case with us. There have been plenty of times or plenty of situations where you felt like you haven't been able to rely on me. And that's normally when attraction and things like that are a real challenge. Yeah. But if there's an aspiration, finish that off for guys, to work towards, like, yes, balance out the femininity, balance out your ability to be present, balance out your ability to control your emotions, but also be really good at something and be someone that you can rely on. You're talking about how to create like
a guy, like the man.
Like an AI, like create it from scratch. Like
these are the qualities that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm talking for women here, but these are the things that I would be aspiring towards. Yeah. Have I missed anything?
No, I think you speak perfectly for men. And maybe next time we can talk about how women can get her feminine qualities back and some steps and tricks and whatever to help with that. Because I know it is hard for women. Like I really do. I'm in an industry where I have to be a boss as well. So I get it. I have to be a mum. I have to be a partner. I have to be a boss, a sister, a daughter, you know. So, yeah, it's very hard to balance all of that and feel okay, not mentally unwell, you know.
Yeah. To be present for the women out there, or to feel for the women out there. Go easy on yourself.
No.
You're doing great.
That's another thing we struggle with is criticism on ourselves. We will tear ourselves down. Yeah, see, I did it now.
I just gave you a compliment.
And I went, oh.
You didn't take it.
That's what we do. We don't take it.
Hear me.
Oh, so you're speaking to me or women across?
I'll speak to you now because it sounds like you need it. You're doing great.
Thanks, son.
You are.
Well, you could work a little harder, so.
Sounds about right.
I'm kidding. Kidding. No. You
see what you did there? You use humour. To fail to absorb what I'm telling you.
Yeah. I've always done that though. I've always been like a bit of a clown. I don't mean to be, but it's my like when things get too serious for me and makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, or like you stare me in the eyes and you like see my soul, I have to like release that straight away. I'm like, get out. Get out.
There are times where you don't do that, and that's where we connect better than ever.
Yes. But there are also times where sometimes things are so overwhelming and we've got so much on that I can't handle more. So I kind of put that humor face up sometimes just to keep going and keep trucking on, you know. But so Aussie, trucking on. Oh, there's the humor again. Self-discovery in live time.
Good thing you are a little bit funny.
Yeah, you need that. Break it up.
I'll give you that.
Yes, but I appreciate what you're saying, and I am hard on myself. And coming from you, seeing it from the inside out, when no one sees, the fact that you're telling me I'm doing a good job does mean a lot.
You are.
And so are you, because I know things aren't easy. We live a very fast-paced life and we've got kids and businesses and things get heavy. But I guess a positive way to leave this podcast is if you can, one, bring humor into your relationship, forgiveness, patience, presence, learn on more about each other, and work more importantly before working on your relationship so intensely, work on yourself. Become a better you, a stronger you, because that will carry over. So that's my biggest piece of advice and something that we've both had to do. Yeah.
Yep. The fact that you're still listening means that they're working on themselves.
Yeah.
So hear my compliment.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
That one wasn't to you. That was to them.
I give up. Anyway, thank you for tuning into today's podcast.
And also make sure that you subscribe or do whatever you do on whatever channel that you're listening on, because the more that we can grow this thing, the more content we can put out. I think we're going to aim for fortnightly episodes.
Yeah. For now.
But maybe that could increase depending on the response that we get with this whole thing. So please subscribe.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
And peace. Until next time.
Until next time.
Cheers.